What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Broadway Joel, the voice of Dominican Boxing. And today we have a special guest coming on, Bob Santos, who is now the trainer of Alberto Puello, Hector Luis Garcia, Carlos Adames, Victor Santillan, Eric Rosa. And you know, if there's one man training that many Dominicans, y'all know I had to have him on the show. And I'm really excited to have this guy on. He was involved in a bit of controversy. We'll address all of that. And oh, he's actually on right now. Bob, how's it going, my brother?
Everything is great. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing very well. I'm so glad for you to giving me the time to interview you. I really appreciate this.
Oh, 100%.
I also want to say I appreciate you giving the opportunity to so many Dominican fighters. As you know, I'm the voice of Dominican boxing, and right now you're the trainer of Dominican boxing. If we're being honest, you got Victor Santillan, Hector Luis Garcia, Alberto Puello, Carlos Adames, Eric Rosa. Am I missing anybody?
Mini Pac-Man.
Mini Pac-Man, yes, Eric Rosa. Yeah, no, it's your gym. First, you're a Puerto Rican, but you train mostly Dominicans. How did that come about?
Well, my partner Louis de Cubas Jr. We've been together for a long time. I worked with his father, senior, obviously before him, who, as many know, managed Roberto Duran and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And as his father kind of settled back and the son kind of took over, me and him have been partners, for many years. And he started working with Carlos Adames, and the rest was kind of a domino effect and kind of fell into place. And I'm very thankful for that, because to me, the Dominican fighters are some of the most talented fighters in the world. And obviously, I think the only problem that they've had is opportunity. And now that the opportunity is coming, I think first and foremost, they're going to come to the forefront in boxing. I think they're gonna stamp their legacy up there with the Cubans, the Puerto Ricans, or anybody else, and show that they're exactly at that level, if not more.
That's very exciting for me, especially somebody who primarily, not only strictly, but primarily puts their content out on Dominican fighters. That's very great to hear. But before we get into your who you're training and so on and so forth, I kind of want to know a little bit about you. So I just kind of want a little bit of background, and then we'll get into what you're doing currently as far as in the boxing world. So you're originally from San Jose, California. Am I correct?
San Jose, California.
How was growing up there? How was the environment like that you grew up?
It was predominantly Hispanic, mainly Mexicans. We were, a few Puerto Ricans out there, not too many. So it was mainly Mexicans, but it was great. Great childhood. I can't complain. I learned a lot of work ethic from my mom and my father, who take us to go, pick fruit in the summers and stuff like that. So it was a hard background, but I'm very thankful from the background that I came from.
Were you involved in any like heated arguments and debates when Puerto Ricans and Mexicans used to fight, whether it be Salvador Sanchez, Rafael Gomez, or Chavez, Camacho, Chavez, Rosario, all these fights?
De La Hoya, Trinidad. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of heated debates. That's for sure. There's no two ways about that. I mean, that's obviously one of the biggest rivalries in boxing. And what I'd like to do is I want to put Dominican boxing up there, so we have some huge rivalries with Puerto Rico, Cuba, and Mexico too.
Hey, I listen from your mouth to God's ears. From your mouth to God's ears. So how did you get introduced to the sport of boxing, both as a fan and did you have any boxing experience yourself?
Well, my cousin fought in the 1956 Olympics, and so that was always very, proud in our family to have my cousin, who was Puerto Rican, but he represented the United States in the 1956 Olympics. So um, that's how it kind of started, and just and my father obviously was a big boxing fan, and back in those times in the 70s, boxing was on network TV, and it was one of the predominant sports in the United States. And when I was growing up, virtually every elementary school had a boxing team. So anywhere you went, boxing was the culture, especially in East San Jose, which was predominantly all Hispanic.
That's interesting. That's interesting. And did you box yourself? Had any amateur fights
Yeah,
or?
I did a little bit with the boys and girls clubs and stuff like that out in East San Jose and things of that nature. Um, my, maybe my heart was bigger than my talent level, to say the least. Uh, you know, so that being said, maybe I was more of a catcher than a baseball catcher than I was a pitcher in boxing. But that said, I love the sport, and I loved all sports. And I kind of transitioned from that into being a sparring partner with Carlos Cruz, and kind of learning the craft a lot that way. Who became cruiserweight champ of the world from Chile. So I had a little bit of experience, to say the least.
Okay. Oh, by the way, you mentioned you had a cousin that fought in the Olympics in the 50s. One, did he medal? And two, what was his name?
Luis Molina.
Luis Molina. Did he medal?
Didn't, unfortunately, he didn't medal, but still, to represent the United States at that time in the Olympics was pretty amazing, because back then, most of those fighters had over 400 something amateur fights. It was in the People don't realize it was a lot like Cuba. The guys had 400 or 500 amateur fights.
Oh, that's interesting. That's it. So, from what I understand, from when we met in Las Vegas, you were introduced to me as a strength and conditioning coach. I wanted to ask you, what was the process into becoming a strength and conditioning coach, and how did you develop a relationship in the boxing world where you were training fighters, professional fighters specifically?
Well, for me, I've always tried to round myself in all aspects of the game. So, I worked under Joe Goosen for a long, long time. I worked with Emmanuel Stewart, with Jose Salaya, who I had as an amateur, was a 2000 alternate in the Olympic team. And I was his head coach and helped guide him to #1 in the world. I was Mario Barrios' head coach, and I guided him to #1 in the world. So, in this game, it's a very, very hard business to make a living in. And
Mm-hmm.
got to be well rounded, unless you get the powers that be the opportunity that they're going to send you fighters and believe in you in that regard. So, you know, I learned cuts from Chuck Bodak, who worked with Tony Zale, who's a 1941 champion. Obviously worked with Muhammad Ali, worked with Roberto Duran, worked with Oscar De La Hoya. His last world champion was Robert Guerrero, who I happen to have since he was 14 years old. People forget I co-trained Robert Guerrero, and I managed him his entire career since the time he was 14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had, my hand in both aspects. I've managed, I've trained, and I've done conditioning. At that time, Ismael Salas was the head coach for the Dominicans, and some of the guys with Adamas were having a little bit of problems with the weight, and they know that I have a lot of experience being in a lot of camps. Like I said, I've spent years at Wildcard with Freddie Roach. I spent years with Joe Goosen. I spent years with Emmanuel Stewart. And obviously, if you're smart, you're quiet, you shut up and you listen, you're going to learn a few things. And I was able to bring some of those things to the table. And now, obviously I'm transitioning into the head coach, but as I said, with Hector Luis Garcia, I was his head coach for the Colbert fight. I trained him, I conditioned him, I did the whole nine for him in that huge upset. And that was one of the biggest upsets in boxing, if you think about it. It was a 22 underdog by most accounts. Some accounts at Caesars, I believe, had him a 50-1 underdog. And if you look at the annals in the history of the sport, there ain't too many guys that have been that big of an underdog and pulled off an upset at that level.
Yeah, that was a fantastic win, and it's one that really put him on the map. Because although obviously I'm Dominican, so I'm aware of pretty much all the Dominicans coming up. As far as the common boxing fan, they weren't necessarily aware of who he was, and for him to go out and pretty much dominate Colbert in a fight that nobody was picking him, and a prospect that a lot of people somewhat were high on, it was very impressive, especially since he even dropped him in the fight.
See, now that's the thing where you can, when you have Hector Garcia on and you do an interview with him, he could tell you who his last sparring partner was to get him ready for that fight. We were in such a scramble. We had 18 days to get ready. I happened to be had to bring back the old skills from Carlos Cruzat, and that was his last 2 sparring sessions to get him ready for that fight.
No wonder you looked a little droop. You were a little dizzy. I saw you got. Was that a black eye? Nah.
Whatever it takes to get the win.
Yeah. So you're officially now a boxing head trainer. That you fully transitioned from strength and conditioning to a boxing trainer. Is that correct?
Well, like I said, what I want to say is, people forget I co-trained Joel Casamayor, right?
Really?
I was with Joel Casamayor. I did his last fight with Miguel Diaz, with Timothy Bradley. I was the head coach for Jose Salai, who was an alternate on the Olympic team, went to the 2000 Olympics. I was the head coach for Mario Barrios and took him all the way from his first pro fight to #1 in the world. So this is not something that's new to me. I've done this with many other fighters. So like I said, I've been in this game in the professionals for over 30 years, 10 in the amateurs. I got 40 years of experience, many years spent under Joe Goosen, a little bit spent under Emmanuel Stewart. And so I bring a wealth of it in an aspect of as a coach.
But this I want to say is a little bit different because now you have like a full stable. You have a full, I'm pretty sure from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep, you're pretty much training, whether it be, I just mentioned 5 fighters off the top of my head, and I'm pretty sure you may have other fighters. Now you have a full stable. So I feel like now you fully made that transition.
100%. Yeah, there's no two ways about that, and I'm thankful for the opportunity, and a lot of times there's a lot of great coaches out there I know that just don't get the opportunity. And fortunately, I paid my dues, and fortunately, I've found myself in a position to get this opportunity. I don't take it lightly. And you're right, it's up early in the morning. It's going to bed late at night, and I want to leave no stone unturned to make sure that we win these fights and we change the face of Dominican boxing. And I tell my fighters all the time, especially the Dominican fighters, you have an opportunity to set the table for the guys that are going to be coming after you. And I think it's going to be the first time in history. You got 2 Dominicans fighting for a world title on the same night. I think this is the golden age of Dominican boxing, and I don't take that lightly. I want to get these guys over the hump, over the top. And I know that's going to provide opportunities for the younger guys coming after them.
That really excites me. The fact that you're saying that this is the turn, this is the I had said previously that August 20th, if both these guys win, and I'm predicting that both Garcia and Poya are going to win. If both these guys win, that will be the turning point of Dominican boxing. August 20th should be like a Dominican holiday in terms of boxing. If that's the date that we get 2 world champions on the same day. And honestly, I'm glad that you're in the corner and such a good guy, and you're going to be part of history.
Well, and the other thing is too, we also have Carlos Adames 5 weeks after that fighting for the WBC middleweight championship.
Yeah, so the interim, yes, the WBC interim.
Oh, there's no 2 ways about it.
Mm-hmm. So obviously, we're all well aware that there was a miscommunication with you and Salas, and he had made some comments, and I'll have you address his comments afterwards. But I wanted to get your side. What happened between you and Salas? Because when I was in Vegas, when we met, you seemed pretty clear that he was the trainer, you were the strength and conditioning coach, and that you were just, training them then while he was in Japan. That's the communication was pretty clear when we spoke. I left Vegas, and then I get the news that there was a falling out between you guys. So what exactly happened there?
Well, for part, it's all about winning. It's all about professionalism, and all I care about is winning. And so, that being said, I'm moving forward. I'm not looking in the rearview mirror. I'm looking in the windshield. I'm moving forward with these guys. I don't want to get too much into detail. It is what it is, and the main thing is that we get these guys over the hump and they win. Because at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's not about him. It's about the guys that put their lives on the line. Yeah. And it's these Dominican fighters trying to change the opportunity for their country, for themselves, and their family. And so that's where I want to keep it, and that's where I'm going to leave it.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll just mention these comments that Salas said, and then if you feel like you want to respond to them, I definitely want to give you the opportunity to defend yourself, because if somebody's making comments about somebody, my platform is definitely always open for somebody to either clarify or defend themselves when somebody makes a comment on them. So Salas claimed that you're known, you have a reputation for stealing fighters, and that you even tried to steal Robert Guerrero from his father, but if Luis de Cubas stopped it from happening. Do you want to address that?
Well, I'll address that, and I'll leave it at this. One, I brought Luis de Cubas on board with Robert Guerrero after he was already a world champion 3 times. Okay, I worked with the father before that, and I worked with Junior, and I brought Junior on board after he's a world champion 3 times. Robert Guerrero started with me at 14 years old. He's 41 years old, and he's still with me today. Okay, so how am I trying to steal somebody that I started with and I'm still with today? As far as his father goes, me and his father, every fighter that his father has ever worked with or trained, whether it's Justin Cardona that I co-train and manage with him, whether it's Oscar Escandon that I co-train and manage with him. We've been together since the day his kid turned pro, and we're still together with other fighters. So I don't know where that's coming from, but I'll leave it at that.
Okay. All right. And this is the last comment I want you to address that Salas made about you, and then we can move forward with the interview. So he claimed that he had seen on his camera, I guess he has cameras in his gym, and he had seen on camera that you weren't bringing the Dominican fighters to the gym, and that when he addressed you about it, you said that his wife wasn't letting people in for sparring. And he claims that that's a lie, and that his wife just only had a problem that you would bring people to the gym and that the people were just there to talk and hang out and not really train and stuff like that. So that's the last comment we'll have on Salas, but I wanted you the chance to defend yourself and explain, answer those questions.
Again, I'm not going to look in the rearview mirror. I'm going to look in the windshield. If that's what he believes, then that's fine. Yeah, I know what the truth is. I'm confident in what I do. I'm confident in what kind of person I am. And like I said, proof is in the pudding. All I can tell you is Robert Guerrero started with me at 14 years old. He's still with me today. Mario Barrios started with me in his first pro fight. He's still with me today. So that being said, most every fighter that I've ever managed has started their career with me and finished their career with me. And I think that speaks volumes. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, that's fine. So moving on from that, all that messy stuff. So how was it inheriting all these fighters? Like, how much did that change your life? Because if I'm being honest with you, I'm pretty sure your life has changed. You know, it's definitely not the same as it was, you know, let's say 2-3 months ago. Inheriting all these fighters, how has that changed your life?
Dramatically, because I have a very close relationship with Carlos Adames and Hector, and when you work with these guys on a day-to-day basis so closely, and they're ingratiating people. They're very, it's my own culture is being Puerto Rican and so on and so forth, but the Dominicans, they have huge hearts, man, great people. And so when you see how they are with their hearts, what type of people they are, not so much for myself, because, hey, I've been fortunate. I took Robert Guerrero to a Mayweather fight. I've been blessed to be financially secure. You know what I mean? So yeah. For me, this sport has given me everything, put my kids through private school, just given me everything. That said, I don't take the opportunity lightly. I want to leave no stone unturned to make sure that they have a great quality of life for themselves, because I know, as a fighter, they have one opportunity. Me as a manager or a trainer or so on and so forth, you have an opportunity to work with this guy or that guy. They have one shot at it. They have one bite at the apple. And so I want to leave no stone unturned to do whatever was within my God-given power to get them over the hump. And I'm sure if you talk to them away from me, I'm sure that's what you're going to find, that they're going to tell you. I'm not saying I'm better than any other trainer. I'm not saying, but I will tell you one thing: nobody's going to outwork me. Nobody's going to outwork me from start to finish, and that just doesn't include. I'm old school, like in learning with Joe Goosen and those guys back in the day. Hey, I'm on the run with you. I'm on the conditioning workout with you. I'm in the gym with you. You know what I'm saying? I'm living with you. if I have to leave my family or whatever it's going to take. And so those are the things that I'm willing to do to ensure that we have an opportunity to win. And I know that when they see, hey man, coach, he lives with me. He just doesn't meet me at the gym and then, hey, oh, well, okay, we'll see you tomorrow. No, he's
Yeah.
at he sometimes he'll do the run with me, so in Hector Garcia's case, like, man, we got no sparring, don't worry about it, let's gear up, we're gonna get it, coach, I don't want to hurt you, hey man, let it fly, man, we got to get you ready, whatever it's going to take. And I think when you do that, and then you can look at them in the corner and they know that you've made the ultimate sacrifices to be away from your family or whatever the case may be, they can look at you, trust in you, and they're going to bite down for you. And I think you've seen that with the case with Hector Garcia with Chris Colbert.
Yeah, that's a good point. Do you think that in a weird way it's now that your boxing career has started? Because although obviously you've been involved in Robert Guerrero and Mario Barrios and a bunch of other fighters that Joel Casamayor, a lot of fighters, I feel like now is when you're now officially the head coach, the head trainer, and now you got world class fighters. You got Alberto Puello, who's fighting for a world title. You're fighting you got Hector Luis Garcia, who's fighting for a world title. You got Carlos Adames, who's fighting for a WBC interim title. You got Eric Rosa, who's I believe the WBA regular champion, Mini Pac-Man. You have Victor Santillán, who's ranked in a few of the sanctioning bodies. So now you have not one, not two, but multiple world-class fighters. Do you feel now is when officially your boxing career is starting? Although obviously you've had a vast amount of experience in it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, obviously this is at a different level. But again, I think it's just a blessing having the opportunity. And to me, like I say, I don't take the opportunity lightly. But that said, I feel confident some of these guys are going to win world championships, but I want to give all the credit to them because I think too many times in this sport, yes, you got to work hard, but at the end of the day, it's the fighter. He's the one putting his life on the line. It's Hector Garcia that went to the Olympics and sacrificed, and you got to give respect to those amateur coaches that started these guys and things of that nature. And sometimes it's a little bothersome to me, when we yes, it's important to have a good jockey on that thoroughbred, but boy, thank the Lord that you can have a thoroughbred to ride, because I used to tell Freddie Roach, and I went head to head with him sometimes in some fights, and I used to tell Freddie the night before, I said, Freddie, I'm riding a thoroughbred tonight, you're riding a donkey. You're a damn good coach, but I think I'm getting over the finish line tonight before you. So that being said, like I said, I had Hector Lazaraga, who had 25 amateur fights, and helped him to a world championship. So to me, that's a huge accomplishment. When you could take guys with 25 amateur fights, or a Mario Barrios who started his amateur career at 2-19, and I took him from his first pro fight to #1 in the world. To me, that's a huge accomplishment. When you get a guy like a Carlos Adames, I don't care who the trainer is, okay. And he's that talented. Let's give Carlos Adames the just that he deserves, and Hector Garcia and Alberto Puello. Puello having 300 amateur fights. And so when they do get over the hump, that's a testament to their amateur coaches. That's a testament to them. And it's a testament to their culture and their families, helping them have, getting to that type of level and having that kind of talent.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for that. So you brought up Carlos Adames, and I don't think anybody has ever doubted Carlos Adames' skills. Carlos Adames is definitely a sharp fighter. He's a very good boxer. And the only critique I've seen of him is that, and if we're being honest, he'll gas out. Like, a lot of times he'll be winning the first 4, 5, 6, 7 rounds, and then he'll get tired. And I call that the Dominican curse, because Dominicans, we're known for winning the first 5, 6 rounds and then getting tired and either getting knocked out or losing a fight on decision, not because not because they're the less talented fighter, but because they got tired out. And you having a background in strength and conditioning, is that a point of emphasis with Carlos Adames?
Sure. I mean, to me, Carlos is one of the most talented. I've been around a lot of fighters, and I've been in a lot of camps. I've been in camp with Manny Pacquiao. I've been in camp up in Big Bear with Canelo Alvarez. I've been around a lot of talented fighters. I've been in a lot of camps. I've been in camps with Sugar Shane Mosley up in Big Bear, where I lived with Sugar Shane Mosley for maybe 4 or 5 months.
What did you do for Shane Mosley?
I was up there. I had Robert Guerrero training up there with him, who was sparring.
Oh, okay.
Stuff like that, and at that time we all worked together and and sparring and just living together in kind of a camp house. I had Jose Salaya at the time, that was #1 in the world. That, like I said, I took him. He was a 2000 alternate on the Olympic team. I was his head coach, and in fact, he was signed by Shane Mosley. So Shane Mosley was actually his manager.
That's interesting.
Training him. So we were all together. So like I said, I have a wealth of experience of being in camps and so on and so forth. And to me, Carlos Adames has got to be probably the most talented fighter that I've ever been around, and I've been in camps with James Toney, with Casamayor.
Whoa. So you're saying he's more talented than James Toney?
No, I'm not saying he's more talented than James Toney, but he's probably one of the most talented fighters I've ever been around. I'm saying
meaning that you have an involvement in
at that level of talent. Now, is he going to fulfill the level of talent? I don't know. That's only up to him and what his work ethic is. Does he have the ability to be like that? There's no two ways about it. I watched him. I was running him with Caleb Plant when he was sparring with Caleb Plant. I was the head coach in those sparring sessions there when we were over at City Boxing, and I've seen him in with a wealth of guys. Now it's going to come down to what is he willing to do and work ethic wise. So obviously we have a guy that lost to Texera, right? But this same guy that goes out and beats Devinchenko, in my estimation, who beat Triple G, he beat Danny Jacobson, he gave Charlo all he could handle, and Carlos, in my estimation, we had got together for about 6 weeks. That's the first time I was hired to start working with him. And when I started working with him, and I remember getting to the fights before the fights, and everybody thought, oh, he's going to win, just what you said, he's going to win the first 4 or 5 rounds. And then he's going to gas out and Devinchenko. And there was a couple promoters that actually thought, and told me point blank to my face that Devinchenko was going to stop Carlos. And Carlos was a 5-1 underdog. And I says, well, it ain't happening tonight, because I know he's in condition. I know he's prepared for this fight. I brought him in. He lived with me. We lived together. So for those, we lived together day in and day out. I was with him 24/7. And I says, if he's in shape, he's winning that fight. And that's and I'll tell you this right now. David Brown, who I work with, who trains with Ronnie Shields. And remember, I had Erzlanda Lara, because I managed Lara for the majority of his career. And I've also been in Lara's corner for the majority of his career. And so Ronnie Shields, who trained Lara, trained the Charlos. And so I've been in many camps with them, seen many sparring sessions. Carlos Adames in shape, I'm confident, take it to the bank. He beats Charlo. He's in shape, beats Charlo. Now,
I'm loving that energy.
Opinion, and that's fine. That's my opinion. I've seen Charlo over 1,000 rounds sparring Lara, and I know if he's in shape.
I'm loving this here. But so do you think Carlos Adames has the work ethic, has the discipline to come in shape?
I'm going to tell you something. Okay, this is a private conversation I had with Joel Diaz, but I'm going to share it with you guys. And Joel Diaz told me the same thing. He says, Bob, he says, do you have Carlos Adames now? And I says, yes, I do. Well, he put out his hand. He shook my hand. He says, well, good luck. And I says, wow. He goes, let me tell you something. One of the most, same thing I'm saying. He goes, one of the most talented fighters I've ever been around, but no work ethic. So good luck. You got your hands full. Now, that said, I haven't had one problem with Carlos Adames, and I can only judge people off the relationships that I've had. I mean, everybody says, oh, this guy did this and this, everybody has their side, the other side, and the truth. Now, I don't know, maybe it was the case with him, but it has not been the case with me. Carlos, we're going to go run this morning at 6 in the morning. Okay, we're going. Carlos, we're going to go run tonight at 9 at night. Okay, we're going. Carlos, this is what you're going to do today. I haven't had one problem with Carlos Adames.
And he runs just as hard and trains just as hard as Barrios and Garcia and Rosa.
Let me tell you something. I put his training commitment on parallel right now with anybody. If it's 20 rounds, 30 rounds, it's 30 rounds. If it's sparring 12 rounds, 3 guys, it's 12. He's doing everything I ask of him And I told him, if you do what I'm asking you to do with your God-given talent, you have an opportunity to be a Hall of Fame fighter, not just a world champion, a Hall of Fame fighter. But it's up to you and your commitment and your dedication. Because I said, Carlos, I said, look at me. You see my nose? My nose is broken. And like they used to say, hey, man, you got a broken nose. You a boxer? I says, yeah, I box. I said, and the old joke is, you're a shitty boxer. Look at that nose of yours. Right? I said, guys like me would have dreamed to have the talent you have. And God has bestowed this blessing on you. And you have one thing you got to do: work hard. So sometimes boxing is so easy, it's tough, you know? It's so easy, it's tough. Get up and do your own work. Eat the right food. Get in the gym. And for him, he's got all the talent. If he does those things, no doubt he'll be a world champion. He can go down as a Hall of Famer. There's no doubt in my mind.
I'm excited. I didn't know his I guess potential was that high. I've obviously knew he was a talented fighter, but the way you making it seem, you get me excited. He's saying he has Hall of Fame potential. He's as good as any fighter you've been around, and you've been around James Toney and Shane Mosley and Robert Guerrero and Joel Casamayor. This is very, very exciting stuff.
Yeah, I managed Lara most all of his career. I've been in Lara his entire career in his corner with Lara. And I'm telling you right now, he's as good as it gets.
Okay. Wow. All right. So what is your opinion on Michel Rivera? I know you don't train him. I know you don't manage him. But when I was in Vegas, I remember you telling me a lot of good stuff about him. So I wanted, to get your opinion from my audience on Michel Rivera, and what do you think his potential is?
I'm super high on Michel Rivera. Obviously, I worked in his corner his last fight. But that being said, before that, I never worked in his corner. I don't manage him. I don't train him. I don't do anything, none of his conditioning or anything of that nature. I brought him in for sparring with Mario Barrios to get ready for the Keith Thurman fight. I've seen him up and close and personal at Bones Adams gyms and many, many different places. I am super, super high on him. Unfortunately, it's sad to say, with the powers that be, sometimes I think he may be a victim of his own success and may be too good for his own good. Like I said, I feel he's more than capable of beating Gervonta Davis. I feel he's more than capable of beating Isaac Cruz. Matter of fact, I'd be really confident in him. Now, am I saying he's going to win 100%? No, because in professional prize fighting, as we all know, Chavez, Maldrick Taylor, you could be winning a whole fight 10 seconds ago, get hit with one shot, and the whole thing has changed. And Tank does have that kind of punching power to change a fight on a dime. We know that.
Yeah.
That said, though, I really would like Rivera's chances in that fight. I would be picking him to win that fight.
To beat Tank.
Yes, but unfortunately, I don't think he's going to get those opportunities anytime soon. I think he's going to have to hoe it at the hard way, like a Marvin Hagler or like Robert Guerrero, where, like with Guerrero, I always wanted the Marquez fight, and everybody is like, oh, Guerrero would just get mopped up by Marquez, and you're pushing for these types of fights. And then sometimes, unfortunately, I think he's in a case of like a Robert Guerrero, where people forget Robert Guerrero turned pro as a 122 pounder. Fought in the amateurs at 106. Our first world title fight was at 126. Then we won the world title at 130. I always wanted the fight with Marquez at 35 or 26 or whatever. We could never get the fight. Everybody says, oh, Guerrero, he hasn't done anything. And I think Rivera's kind of in that type of category.
Yeah.
I remember Caceres fighting Marquez, almost knocking him out. We fought Marquez after that, and Guerrero played with Caceres. And unfortunately, to get an opportunity, we had to skip the 40-pound weight class to the 47 weight class to fight for a world championship, where everybody kind of took note of Guerrero then, because we skipped 35, went to 47, won the world title. Then we fought Andre Berto, beat him when we were a huge underdog. Then people were like, oh, my God, this guy's an animal. And then we got the Mayweather fight. Yeah. But it's weight classes removed from where he really should be fighting at. You know what I mean?
So you fear –
and I think Rivera, unfortunately, he's in the same boat as Guerrero was at this point in his career.
I hope not, because if we look on the PBC side, the only logical fight Tank has is Michel Rivera. He already fought Isaac Cruz. Ryo Valenzuela, he doesn't have enough fights. And if you look at the lightweight landscape as far as on the PBC side, I want to say Rivera is the only logical fight, and I hope that fight happens. I
You know,
really do.
you know, I agree with you, but unfortunately, like anything, and it's not just boxing. My brother's a college football coach. My other brother works in with the UFC fighters. And I don't care if it's baseball. It's baseball. Politics or home field advantage. Uh, in baseball with the Yankees, right field is very, very short, and there's no wonder they got a lot of lefties in the lineup, right? So you're kind of going at a disadvantage. You go play Yankees at Yankee Stadium, and they got 6 lefties in the lineup. But that being said, be it as it may, that's what it is. It is what it is, and for me, in my years of experience, would I like to see him get that opportunity? Sure. Do I think he deserves that opportunity? Sure. Do I think he's getting it anytime soon? No, I don't. And that's just my 30 years being in professional prize fighting, unfortunately. But like I said, it's not just in boxing, it's in baseball, it's in football. When you have people involved, you're going to have people that make political decisions, and it is what it is.
Yeah. All right. So, talk to me about Hector Luis Garcia and Berto Puello. Both have a championship fight August 20th. You trained both of them. I was there in Las Vegas when we met. I saw you training them. And talk to me about the talent level each of those guys have, as well as what do you think is going to happen in their fight and their opponents?
Um, you know, with first and foremost with Puello, um, I know his opponent very well. I've seen him up and close and personal with Mario Barrios, obviously, when we were able to beat him for the WBA title. He's in a tremendously tough fight. The guy's an Olympian. He's not an Olympian by accident. He's trained by, to me, one of the best, Joel Diaz. I have the utmost respect for him. And so I know we're going to be in a dogfight. It by no means is going to be an easy fight. There's going to be times, and I've told Puello this, that he's going to have to look within himself, within his soul, deep into his soul, in order to pull out this victory. Because he's going to go to a place, this guy's going to take him to a place, unless we catch him with something he doesn't see, that he's never been to before in a pro fight. I know that. He's going to push him to that brink. And Puello has that within him. I think Puello's the better boxer, no doubt about it. In my mind, Puello's longer. And Puello brings a lot of attributes to this fight that other guys haven't. Like I said, he's long, he's a lefty, he's got good feet, and he's very intelligent. Puello's very, very intelligent fighter, and so I think we're well prepared for this fight, and I think we're going to bring a couple little wrinkles into the fight that I'm not going to get into now. That I think the Russian's going to be in for a little bit of a surprise.
I hope you're right. How about Hector Luis Garcia? Talk to me about his talent level as well as his opponent Roger Gutierrez, and what do you make of the fight?
Well, obviously, Hector, again, here's a kid that fought in the Olympics, represented the Dominican in the Olympics, and obviously you don't fight in the Pan Am Games, you don't fight in the Olympics by not being a quality fighter. That said, again, Hector too is a lefty, and Hector's very crafty. There's a lot of little wrinkles to Hector's game that unless you work with him on a day-to-day basis, that you wouldn't appreciate. So I felt confident when we took the fight with Colbert. I looked at him. He said, "Hey, let's do this, coach." And if I didn't feel he was capable of winning, we would have never took that fight. So he has a lot of wrinkles and a wealth of experience, and he can do a plethora of things that people are going to be in for a big shock with him too. He's not a one-dimensional fighter. Hector can do a lot of different things. And I think he proved it in the Colbert fight. If you look in the Colbert fight, he fought a completely different style than he's fought in a lot of his other previous fights. And to me, that's a sign of a great fighter who's not one dimensional, where you can, you fight this guy and you can bring a certain style here, or you can have a different style here. And that's what, when you can win and sustain at that level, you know what I mean? It's not the same thing every single time. You can add some wrinkles, and he's capable of doing that. Plus, he's, again, I love working with lefties. Arizona Lara is a lefty. Robert Guerrero is a lefty. I've worked with a lot of lefties. Joel Casamayor. So I've been in camps with a lot of lefties.
Wow, I didn't even when we were talking about the fighters you've trained, I didn't even put two and two together. You're right, that is a lot of lefties. But what do you make of Roger Gutierrez as an opponent, and what do you make of how tough of a fight he's going to be for Garcia?
Well, definitely. I think anytime that you win a world title, it's not just a cliche; it's the truth. You know, you start to feel better. You start to believe you're better, and most times you're going to train as such. And I think too, in most cases too, as you know, you start putting your team together. You know what works, what doesn't work, and then when you have the resources, you know, because now you're a world champion. Hey, guess what? We can bring in the type of left-handed sparring that we need to simulate for this fight. So your preparation is going to be better for the most part. Are there times guys fall off the rails? Sure, but for the most part, that's usually the case. And so I expect it to be a very, very, very tough fight. I think he's a very solid fighter. I think he's only gotten better, obviously. And when he won the world championship, I think he's only extended his level to that next level. That said, I feel very confident in Hector. And so I'm expecting a great fight.
Okay. All right. This is the last question for me, and then I want to open up the phone lines and see if anybody wants to call in and ask a question themselves. So the last question for me is, how big is August 20th for you in your career, your personal boxing career? You know, considering this, I want to assume the first time you're ever training two different fighters for two different championship fights. How big is this August 20th for your career?
Well, it's huge. I'd say when me as a co-trainer and a manager for Robert Guerrero, who I had at 14 years old, obviously the Berto fight for the WBC title, and I knew what was at stake. We win that fight, we're a big underdog. We win that fight, we're fighting Floyd Mayweather. So you're getting to the apex of boxing. That said, I think this is bigger than that for my career, and the reason I say that is because it's not just my career. I feel like we're representing the whole country of the Dominican Republic. You see, so it's bigger than just me. So I have that responsibility. So this is probably the biggest moment in my career by far, because you're taking on a whole country and a whole culture and a whole people. And like I said, and the people that are going to come after it. So if we can get over the top, it'll be the biggest thing that's ever happened in my career by far.
All right. Well, I definitely agree. I just put the link in the chat for anybody who wants to call in. He's been very gracious with his time. He's a busy guy, as I just mentioned. He trains a lot of fighters, so he's been very gracious with his time. So if you guys want to click the link and ask a question to yourself, maybe something I missed, maybe something you're very curious about, click that link, call in, and Mr. Santos here could answer your question. So while we wait for that, what other fighters are you training besides Dominicans currently, or pretty much is that your whole your stable?
No, I have Kevin Brown, who just defected from Cuba. He'll be fighting on Bally's Network, and the day after, as a matter of fact, in Orlando, he he beat Andy Cruz 2 times in the amateurs. He was a huge stand.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm training some of those guys that have just defected from Cuba, and I also work. I have the two twins, Angel and Chavez Barrios, that I co-train with their father. I have DJ Zamora, the Black, aka Black Capino, who's named by Floyd Mayweather. He trained, interesting story with that. He trained with Roger Mayweather and Floyd Mayweather since he was 7 years old. And then obviously when Roger, was getting sick and kind of passed away, he came and started training with us over with his father at Pound for Pound. And we turned him pro at 16 years old. He's now 10-0 with 9 knockouts. And obviously I'm still involved with Robert Guerrero, and we're looking to see what his next fight is going to be. And I have Justin Cardona out of the Bay Area that I work with, Angel Chop. Mexican kid. So we got quite a bit of guys.
All right, all right. I have a caller here. He wants to call in and ask a question. Ari, what's going on, De Lo Mio? Ask your
How's it
question.
going, man? How are you?
I'm doing well.
Bob, thank you for your time. I just listen, as a Dominican, I just want to reach out to you and say, hey, listen, man, we're excited. We're looking forward for these fights. We're very proud of these guys. So we're looking forward to, these Dominicans getting these belts and putting, Dominican boxing on the map. Because I feel a lot of times, Dominican fighters will have all the talent in the world, but a lot of times they're overlooked because of, whether, they say that, they don't have work ethics or whatever the case may be. So I just want to say, man, like I said, I'm excited for these guys. I want to thank you for the opportunities and working with them. And I'm just excited. I know that I might have missed it, but I know. So you currently have, is it Adames, Puello, Garcia, and do you have Santillán as well?
Yes.
Santillán, and then you have Rosa, who's
Mini Pac-Man.
the mini. Got it. Well, listen, man, I'm just excited, and I just want to show support. And like I said, I'll definitely be tuning in and looking forward to this fight.
Appreciate
and
it.
I just want to say, man, I in my opinion, I think you've done a great job because let's face it, when Hector Garcia fought Colbert, Salas wasn't there. You were the one that's there in the corner, and I think he that was a great performance. And I'm excited. Like I said, thank you for everything.
Yeah, me and him, we were together from day one on that for the entire camp. It was me and him, and he bit down and again just showed tremendous heart. And he won that fight on just all. Obviously, we had only 3 weeks to get ready, and that just showed you the type of heart and balls Hector Garcia has, and that's what he won it on: heart, balls.
For sure.
No, but I'll let somebody else in. But thank you for your time, and I'm looking forward to the fight, man.
Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Anybody else want to call in? Please feel free. It's free to call in. You don't have to pay. You don't have to do anything. Just click the link that's in the chat. You'll call in, ask your question, just as Ari did. Somebody send a $5 super chat. Shout out to L Dub Boxing for sending that $5. He says, Broadway salute. Ask Bob, what is his biggest takeaway from the Barrios versus Akhmadov fight? I guess he's asking, what did you see in that fight that you can apply for the Puello fight?
I think that Barrios, the biggest mistake I think that he made in that fight is he just didn't use a jab enough in that fight. He didn't use his physical attributes. You're 6'1". He virtually very rarely jabbed in the fight for whatever the reason may be. I don't know. I can't get into his head. Obviously, that's a key in the sport of boxing. But, I don't know, maybe because he got countered when he first jabbed and didn't want to let the jab go. I don't know. I can't get inside to his head. He never really told me anything of that nature, so I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. I'll give people a little bit more time to call in. If not, I'll let Bob Santos go. He's definitely a busy guy. But I'll give you guys 2 more minutes, and if nobody wants to call in, then I'll let Bob go do his thing. But what's next for Mario Barrios? I know he just recently lost to Keith Thurman a couple months ago. He's coming off 2 losses in a row. Where do you guys see his career going, as well as what's like the game plan? Like, what weight class is he going to fight, and who and when and where?
Well, as far as Barrios goes, I was his head coach for his first almost 20 pro fights, got him to #1 in the world. And then at that time, when he got to #1 in the world, everybody as a management and everything decided to move to Virgil Hunter, move him to the Bay Area, take him into a different environment. And, and we were hoping that being around Andre Ward and guys like that at that time, Berto was over there, and being in that gym would elevate his game to that next level. And we just, as a team, that was that being said, now I will become his head trainer again. he'll be out here, and so I'm excited about that, because then I can have Barrios working around Carlos Adames, and there's a lot of things that Carlos Adames that can add to Mario Barrios. You see, people don't realize, if you're a good coach, it isn't about you. It's about the people that are around you. It's about the people that you bring into the inner circle, and having good people around. And guys like Carlos Adames, like, Adames, for anybody to take credit for his career, I think would be crazy. This is a guy that was trained by Robert Garcia. This is a guy that was trained by Joel Diaz. This is a guy that went to the World Games. So guys like Adames have so much experience, and I'm very fortunate to be his head coach, and very thankful now that I can bring Mario Barrios to be around Carlos Adames, to be around Hector.
Oh, I think he keeps getting a phone call. I think that's what's happening.
So very fortunate. I'll be his head coach again, and we're going to push forward and see what happens from there.
What weight class do you plan on fighting at? Welterweight?
He'll stay at 47, I'm pretty sure.
All right. Looks like we don't got no more callers, but hey man, Bob, I really appreciate you coming on. This is a honor. It's definitely, I appreciate you, what you're doing for my countrymen. You definitely have a lot of Dominican fighters in your stable. You're very high on the future of Dominican boxing from your words, and you see the sport growing in our country. And I just want to say, I want to say thank you so much just for that. And I look forward to having you on. Hopefully this isn't the last. This is the first time, but hopefully it's not the last.
Hey, thank you, and a shout out to Sean Boxing out there in the Dominican, and
yes.
Very thankful for them and the Belica and the things that they're doing. I'm very grateful that they're entrusting some of their fighters to me. And like I said, all the Dominicans fighters need is an opportunity, a good team. And I put them up there with any culture in any country, whether it's the Cubans, whether it's the Mexicans, whoever it may be, right here. As long as they have a good team and opportunity, they're going to prove what type of talented athletes they are. No doubt in my mind.
For sure. And I'll be out there in Florida, so I'll see if maybe after the fight we link up or something.
Oh, looking forward to it. See you out there, and God bless you.
All right, man. God bless you as well. Thank you so much, man. All right, guys. That's Bob Santos, trainer of, Hector Luis Garcia, Alberto Puello, Victor Santillán, all these guys. And he took the time to interview with me, and I greatly appreciate it. I'm really looking forward to the future of our sport, as far as where everything is going. He mentioned how talented he thinks Carlos Adames is, which really surprised me. It almost seemed like out of all the fighters he's training, that's who he looks at his star pupil, which I was not expecting. Honestly, I was expecting for him to say he thinks Garcia or Puello as being one of his best fighters, but looks like he likes Carlos Adames. And hey, listen, a Dominican middleweight champion, that would be exciting. That's one of the glamour divisions. And by the way, Dominicans, we have had a Dominican middleweight champion before, Julio Cesar Green, which, funny, my father actually co-managed, excuse me. Was a WBC middleweight champion. He fought William Joppy a few times. A lot of people don't know that, back in the late 90s, early 2000s. So, if we could again, he said that Carlos Adames has Hall of Fame potential. I'll be honest with you. I've never seen Hall of Fame potential in Carlos Adames. I've always thought he was a talented fighter. Don't get me wrong, but Hall of Fame, maybe I thought that was a stretch. But I'm not out in the gym working with him. I'm not out here, training him. I'm not seeing his sparring sessions. So maybe he's seeing something I don't. And if that's true, that would be amazing for our country, and amazing, honestly, for the sport. A new player, a new Hall of Fame type talent in the middleweight division. That would be very, very exciting. I'm going to put the link up again in case anybody wants to call in and just chat with me. I'm going to be on for like another 20 minutes, just if anybody wants to talk about how the interview went, as well as, just anything else in boxing. But obviously, I'm the voice of Dominican boxing. It would be dope if we stick to that topic. But yeah, I'm excited. August 20th, you know, Alberto Puello Aquador for the WBA title, and then Hector Luis Garcia versus Roger Gutierrez also for the WBA title. To me, August 20th is the biggest moment in boxing, in Dominican boxing history. That is a fact. And if we can get both those wins, that, and by the way, the Dominican Day Parade, if I'm not mistaken, is tomorrow. So we would immediately be celebrating something this Saturday. So that excites me. That excites me. I will be there live and direct. I will be in Florida there, looking luxurious, looking fresh. Because you know, if the voice of Dominican boxing is at a boxing event, I gotta look spiffy. I can't be the voice of Dominican boxing looking how I'm looking now, hair all crazy, wearing a t-shirt. I'm not wearing a t-shirt. I'm letting y'all know I'm going out there looking fresh. You know, I can't be misrepresented out there. I can't have the country looking crazy. But yeah, man, that was a very good interview. He answered a lot of questions. I do wish he would have addressed a little bit more what happened with Salas, but he's moving forward, and I can't knock him for it. That's definitely his you know, his choice not to speak on it. He did address the accusation that he was trying to steal Robert Guerrero. He did speak on that. So I just wish he would have addressed the falling out. But again, I'm not going to knock nobody for not wanting to talk about something that just happened, you know, 2-3 weeks ago. And, you know, he has a big 2 championship fights coming up literally in 7 days. I'm not going to knock him for that. I'm not going to knock him for that. Yes. We will have 2 DR champs next week. Absolutely, Ralph. Absolutely. I'm with you. De lo mío. El Dub, good interview. Thank you, man. And thank you for that super chat, man. Shout out. Yo, anybody who's enjoying the content and enjoying, because I'm the only one really out here interviewing Dominican Olympic coaches, the guy who's training the most Dominicans in the pros. That, you know, and as well as the you know, Elvis Rodriguez manager. I'm giving you guys a lot of content other boxing channels are not. And if you Dominican, yo, send me 5 or something. Send me 5. I'm giving you good content, man. My page is monetized. Y'all can send me a super chat. But yeah, and by the way, I've been in communication with Luis Reynaldo Nunez team. He's coming on the show soon. I've been in the communication with Jason Rosario's team, but that's my fault. A lot of things on my end has not been where it's supposed to be to get Jason Rosario on, but I've been in communication with him, so he's coming on the show eventually. Him, I don't want to say soon, but he'll come on the show. And also, I'm going to have on the show Subrio Matias. I spoke to Subrio. I know Subrio Matias is not Dominican, he's Puerto Rican, but Subrio Matias, I spoke with his promoter, and his promoter said that he'll allow him to come on my channel once his fight is announced. That way he's on the show to promote something and not just on the show just to talk. So I will be having Subrio Matias, Luis Reynaldo Nunez, Jason Rosario on my channel soon. And also, I haven't actually spoken with Joan Guzman directly, but my father has a really good relationship with Joan Guzman. So I'm going to try to get Joan Guzman on the show, but since he lives in Brooklyn, I'm going to try to have him in studio. I'm not going to have him like how I do my interviews here, like just kind of like on the stream. I want to have that interview specifically on a you know, in studio, and I may not, and for my English speaking brothers, I may just do that one in Spanish. I'll try to see if I could do the subtitles, but man, it's a lot of work to do an hour and a half interview subtitles. Which, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, I think you can use the translate captions on YouTube. I may be wrong. I got to check on another video and see if I could do it. And if so, I'll instruct my viewers how they can add the captions to that fight, but to that video. But again, interviews that are coming up: Jason Rosario, Luis Reynaldo Nunez, and I haven't spoken with Joan Guzman, so I don't want to say it's scheduled or even coming soon. Joan Guzman, it's most likely going to happen in the near future. How about that? Joan Guzman in the near future. But all right, guys, I'm gonna hop off. I appreciate you guys hopping on, especially L Dubs sending that $5 super chat. My man Ari, who called in, asked a couple questions, and everybody else who supports the channel. Even if you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button. If you haven't hit the like button, hit the like button. But I really, really appreciate you guys, and I'm gonna keep this kind of content coming. So, all right, guys, I appreciate you, and until next time.